Welcome once again to the channel. Today we take a look at the new deck which is out for the Fire Commander event, and this deck is an Immortal Killer deck. It's got I would say an interesting battle skill, but is it a powerful deck? I don't think so. Let's start first and foremost with Steel Force, which is the ultimate form, and this ultimate form will unleash a copy of this hero's strongest attack this battle, targeting one enemy. It heals for 4000% of hero recovery. It's got a 9 gem charge rate and a 1 turn cooldown. Now 1 turn cooldown I think is very brilliant, so that's a brilliant thing about the battle skill. It's got a 1 turn cooldown. Let me just take a moment to explain the battle skill. From what I understand about the battle skill, you've got a 20-second battle. Within that 20-second, this card takes the highest damage that you've dealt in that battle, and it keeps nuking for that amount. So say this card, only this card, not the entire deck, this card dealt a damage of 100 trillion, for example. Now this card will take that and it will keep dealing it as a nuke damage for the entire battle, unless you dealt more than 100 trillion. So say for example, after you dealt that 100 trillion, on your next turn you dealt 150 trillion. It will then take the 150 trillion and then it will keep dealing that as a nuke damage every single turn, which is alright for chip damage. It's really brilliant for chip damage. Now to get this card to deal quite a lot of damage, you'll need cards to give it boost, because the deck hasn't got any boost, and it creates quite a number of power gems, but it's got criteria that you have to meet, and we're going to look at those criteria a bit later. Now one of the passive, which is called Interactive Calibration, it says this hero stores the largest attack it has made each battle and ready to be copied. So that's what it does. It copies the largest stored damage that you dealt and keep dealing it. The next one is Suppressive Fire. Whenever this hero attacks, it creates 5 Power Gem 6s. And it's got another one which creates 5 Power Gem 6s if you start your turn with 5 or more Fire Power Gem on the board. So it has the ability to create 10 Power Gem 6s, which is quite nice. But the criteria is you have to start that turn with 5 Power Gems on the board. It doesn't matter the level of Power Gems, you just have to have 5 Power Gems on the board to actually tap into this passive for this card to create 10 Power Gem 6s, which is, some of the time it's quite a feat, especially if you're working with something like Chaos. But I don't think we've got Chaos this time around. We've got Armor, which is a time waster. Armor can totally waste your time, especially against the ultimate bosses. This one will waste loads of time, so you need to dispel Armor when you're going up against the ultimate bosses, especially as the ultimate bosses get stronger. But this card, I would say it would work quite well against the ultimate bosses, especially when you get up to like 20, going upwards in the 20s, because when you get to 20s, you stop, you kind of stop thinking about overkill and you start thinking about just taking out the bosses. So if you can do that chip jab damage every single turn, you can actually take out quite a number of bosses going upwards, especially when you get to the bosses where it gets to like 20 quadrillion. You really need to be dealing like 1 quadrillion damage, and if you can get this card to deal 1 quadrillion damage with its nuke, every single turn you'll be dealing 1 quadrillion damage worth of nuke. So you just need to go through the fight to actually take out the boss. So the idea is quite nice, however the application might prove to be a bit more difficult. So is it a good utility card? Probably in JVG might be really good. I'm not sure, however, in JVG if it actually stores the attack, so the next boss that comes out it uses the nuke damage. I'm not really sure how it would work in a GVG setting. I'm not able to craft the deck today, but I will be able to craft the deck tomorrow. When I start the event, I only need 6 coins to actually craft both cards. And as a free-to-play player, I will get 6 coins from the collection. So my gems that I've been saving, I won't need to use it in the packs that comes out over the next 3 days. Won't be buying those. I'll be saving my gems for next season. So let's look at the Master Collection card. Ace Skyborn. An Ace Skyborn unleashes a copy of this era's strongest attack. So it does the same thing as the ultimate form. It copies the attack, the largest attack that this card dealt during the battle, and it keeps replicating it time after time after time. It's got a 1 turn cooldown, which is really brilliant. The interactive calibration, we have already looked at that. Suppressive Fire, it creates 5 firepower gem when this era attacks. So this Master Collection card can deal nuke damage as well, but it only creates 5 power gem 6s. Doesn't create a lot of power gems, but it's okay depending on what you've got in your collection. The next one is your ultra rare turbo, and the ultra rare for this week will create 6 firepower gem 6s, and it will heal for 4000% of your recovery. So every single turn this card can create 6 firepower gem 6s. It also will be able to create 5 firepower gem 6s if you start the turn with 5 firepower gems on the board. So this one can create 11 firepower gems, a bit more than the ultimate form, 1 more than the ultimate form. So this actually creates more 1, but 1 can make a difference. 1 more firepower gem 6 than the ultimate form. That's all it does. It creates firepower gems and it actually heals. So let's look at the debuff Blind. So you might want to dispel Blind, because Blind, what it does, it causes you to miss the target. So you can basically, I've got 4 quadrillion damage and only 1 quadrillion hit the boss because your cards have got Blind. So Blind can waste your effort. Next one up is Toxin. So Toxin will block the skill of the ultimate form and the ultra rare because they both do heal. So heal is affected by Toxin. So to actually benefit from these cards' ability, you need to get rid of Toxin. Armor is a time waster and Blind wastes your effort, but they're not really bad debuff like Chaos or Thorns or Counter. Those are really nasty ones. So those are 3 of your 5 cards for this week. Let's take a look at the main card, Big Joe, or you can call it event card, depends. This one creates 5 power gem 4s on attack and okay, let's read it again. It creates 5 power gem 4s on attack for the next 3 turns. So it's got 3 turn cooldowns, but it does create 5 fire power gem 4s over that 3 turn. So every single turn it will be creating 5 power gem 4s. It's just like having a 1 turn cooldown. Anyway, you activate it and for the next 3 turn you get 5 power gem 4s. Sorry. This one dispel Toxin. It hasn't got any passive. It hasn't got any boost. The entire deck hasn't got any boost. But we've got cards. Well, depends on what you've got in your collection, really. There's cards out there that can actually boost the deck. So boosts. So boost will create 10 fire gems, 1 turn cooldown. It's got a passive, Leaving the Dusk. It delays the enemy turn count by 1. Cooldown 6 turns. So every 6 turn it actually delays the enemy turn count by 1. You don't activate this, it does it passively, which in essence is quite nice, but is it really that useful? I would say no. Personally, it's not really that useful. Support cards are not really very useful nowadays, but it is what it is. So let's take a look in my collection and let's see what I've actually got for this week. So this is one of your past ultimate Immortal Killer. It's an Immortal Killer from last year. The year before we had this one, which was the Easter deck. This one is not that useful. I would say if you haven't got the Immortal, if you haven't got the Killer skill, you have got this card, you can use it, Stone Tech Matriarch, but it's not gonna really help you that much apart from giving you the Killer skill. What it does, it creates 2 Firepower Gem 4s and it adds something called Budding Polarity to the battle for 3 turn. What it does is Budding Polarity begins at negative and decrease the damage taken by your heroes and the enemy by 10%. On the 3rd turn, it creates 2 Firepower Gem 4s and flip from negative to positive, increases the damage taken by the hero and the enemy by 10%. So it just decrease your damage, decrease the enemy's damage, and then on your 3rd turn it flips and the enemy takes 10% extra damage. That's not very useful from my point of view. It was kind of useful back in the day, but now it's not very useful. If struck while Budding Polarity negative is active, it increases self-attack by 20% at a rate of 5 plus an additional 5 per every 100 skill point. It also creates an ultimate gem, but as you know, ultimate gems doesn't really do that much nowadays. They're not really, they're counterproductive if you ask me. Perceptive Guru. Now, Perceptive Guru is a more up-to-date ultimate form. It's a year old, but it's still more useful than Stone Tech Matriarch. Perceptive Guru will create 4 Firepower Gem 3s. It's not 4s, it's 3s, plus an additional for every 100 Immortal Killer intensity. Which, if the fight goes on for some time, you will create a few more Power Gems. If you get 1,000 intensity, you create 10 Firepower Gem 3s, which is okay, but it's not brilliant. It receives a triple attack buff for 1 turn. While triple attack buff is active, this hero will strike an additional 2 times on its next turn, each dealing exactly 100% of the damage of the main attack. So that is almost like receiving the attack bonus buff, where you strike an additional time on your next turn, but they strike an additional 2 times on its next turn. But the good thing about this one is its passive, Fatal Grasp. When attacked by an enemy, it increases Immortal Killer's attack by 1,200% and gain 15% damage reduction for the next turn. So this one gives you Immortal Killer cards boost. All Immortal Killer. It doesn't matter the affinity, it doesn't matter the type. Could be Commander, could be Slayer. It increases all Immortal Killer's attack by 1,200%, which is quite good. So to use this card, you would go from, say, an Immortal perspective, creating a few Power Gems and attacking. So you can use Fire Immortal Killer cards with this particular deck. It's got the Ultra Rare and it's got Burning Bruiser. I think Burning Bruiser is, can't remember which. I think this was the Master Collection card and Burning Bruiser was the Ultra Rare, I think. Don't quote me on that. So I've got 2 copies of Burning Bruiser, no, 1 copy of Burning Bruiser, and this is your support card. I think I've got 2 copies of Burning Bruiser. Let's see, yep, 2 copies of Burning Bruiser because I've got the 2 pink stars. So that is one deck, that is another deck, but these are some really helpful cards. So let's look at some of the helpful cards for this week. Alteon New Gods is one that you really will want to use. In its event, it was a really powerful deck. So you can use this deck, the entire deck, and just use a card to give it the killer skill. So you could use this card alongside Perceptive Guru. Perceptive Guru will give it the killer skill and it can just do its thing. Especially if you've got more than one, I think it's a Master Collection card. More than one of the Master Collection card. Or Ultra, I can't remember which was which one. Let's take a look. So it is actually a Noble Killer, no, Arcane Killer. So let's take a look. So we want to look at Fire, Arcane, Commander. And there it is, Altian New Gods. Yep, so it was this card. So this was the card that really helps a lot. So it creates 6 fire power gem, 6s, and increase fire commander damage by 80% for 3 turns. And I was using 3 copies of that. So 3 copies of that alongside the ultimate farm, along with Perceptive Guru, is a nice deck. That one can be used. We've already spoken about Perceptive Guru. Exalted Champion is one that can be used as well, can be very helpful. It creates 18 fire power gem 5s over 3 turns, good for the way fights. At a rate of 6 every turn, it increases the damage dealt by fire commander by 100% for 3 turns. So you've got damage boost there as well. So you've got damage boost with this one, and you've got this one which is immolating fire. Oh, forget about that. So this one also creates 18 power gem, 5s over 3 turns. It dispels 1 buff from the enemy and cleanses 1 debuff from each fire commander. So this one will cleanse your entire team, and it will remove a buff from the boss. So this one is really, really useful. It also increases the damage of each fire commander on the team by 50% for 3 turns. So it's not 100%, it's 50%, but every little helps. So this is something that's really useful. So if you've got all of these cards like I've got, you can mix and match, and you probably would come up with something that can do really, really serious damage. Now let's take a look at the Pyeongchang Resistance. Now Culinary Kings is a really, 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 really good utility card. We've seen it before. It creates 6 fire power gem 6s, then it upgrades all fire gems on the board to be 2 rank higher. So if you've got a board full of fire gems, it will just upgrade all of those to power gem 2s. Power gem 6s, 2 grade up, 10s, whatever, 2 grade up. Brilliant card, absolutely brilliant. It's a Slayer card, doesn't really matter, can be added to commander decks. Still does the same thing, does exactly what it says on the can, it just upgrades. So this one wouldn't be a main damage dealer, it will be the one that gives your card the ability to deal massive damage by upgrading your power gems to 2 rank higher. All the others would give you a boost. Perceptive Guru, Emulating Fae, Exalted Champion, Altain New God. All these ones will give you a boost. Culinary Kings give you power gems, upgraded power gems. So that is really, really good. Now, in the way of Immortal Killer Relic, I've got this one. So this one is Stripping Star, so it breaks 4 shield. Now we've got a new boss, Radiant Boss. That one has got loads of shields. So you need to break all the shields possible. And I realized that if you've even got 1 shield on the board, it does chip away at the amount of damage you're able to deal. Really, really chips at the amount of damage. So you need to dispel as much shields as possible. So if you've got a Dark Immortal Killer Relic, Ultimate Relic, use it. I would say to people who are quite new to game that the relics activate from left to right. So if you've got the Dark Relic, you would want to move it from the right hand side to the left hand side. So it activate first, and then you can put on your Fire Immortal Killer Relics. So let's see, fire, have I got any Fire Immortal Killer Relics? Yep. So you would do something like this. So these would go there, and then you put all your other relics after, your fire relics after, so they will overwrite the gems created by, let's see if we can find the latest one. There it is, Barrage. So I've got 2 copies of that one. So that would be the way how to actually equip your relics. So the first one that will activate would be my Dark Immortal Killer Relic, and then all the other relics would activate after. But this one will break 4, and each one subsequently would break 1. So that would give me 8. I'll be able to break 8 shields. I think the maximum is 7, if I can remember quite well. All right, so those are utility cards, helpful cards that you can add to your deck this week depending on what you've got. This is an old deck, so if you haven't got Perceptive Guru but you've got all the other cards, if you haven't got Perceptive Guru but you have all of the other cards that I've showcased in your helpful cards, and you haven't got the current ultimate form, this ultimate form will give you the killer skill, and that does help a lot. And this deck, if you haven't got anything else but you've got this deck, you can use this deck in combination with probably say Culinary Kings to upgrade your power gems. So Perceptive Guru and crew can do some really serious damage. Okay, and as I said, if you've got Alti New Gods and you haven't got Perceptive Guru, you haven't got the current ultimate form, but you have got Stone Tech Matriarch, you can use it in combination with this deck and you can do some serious damage. So that's my recommendation for this week. I would say if you've got the coins like I have to, please craft the deck or craft a subsequent deck that you like, because all your coins will be converted to points, and there's not much loyalty store. There's hardly anything that you really need if you've been playing the game like I've been playing it for quite some time. So you could craft a subsequent deck from the season. Let's have a look at the season. Where is it? Yep. No. To see the season, you have to go inside here, view season. So you go inside view season and then go inside ultimate, and these are all the decks for this season. So the light is, I would say the light deck, it's nice to use but it isn't brilliant. The earth, I would say the earth deck is okay, but Brothers in Banditry was the one that actually made that deck. This one, the dark deck, I didn't get the dark deck this season. Let's look at the dark deck, see what, remind ourselves what it does. It creates 4 dark power gem 6s, heal for 4000% of your recovery, and increase dark slay attack by 8% for 1 turn. Whenever a hero activates an attack or damage buff, creates 2 dark power gem 6s, can fire up to 6 times. So this one, I would think the dark one is a bit better than the light one from my perspective. Let's look at the water just to remind me of what they actually done, because I didn't get anything from those 2 events. So increases water commander damage by 120%. So this one will be something that later on you probably want. For 4 turns, reveals a weakness on the target for 3 turns. All standard attack against exposed weakness will create 3 water power gem 6s. So this one increases all water commander damage by 120%. So this one does give you a damage boost. So it's always nice to have a card that gives you damage boost going forward. Let's look at the ultra rare. Increases water commander damage. So I would say the water deck is one that you probably will want to go for as a utility card, as our utility deck. The second one, I would say the dark one. I'll put the water one as first. I'll put the dark one say second, but it's a close second place. It's not say the water one is far better, but I kind of like the water one. Plus, the water decks are the most difficult to get because it's always the first event of the season, so none of us have any coins anyway. So if you are able to craft it and keep it as a utility deck, that would be the one to go for, the water deck. The current fire deck, I would say it's nice to have, but not need to have. That's what I would say. It's nice to have, but not a need to have. So as I've got the coin, now I'm seriously considering to use what I've got in the current event and probably say go for the water deck. That's what I'm thinking now. Go for the water commander deck and actually forego the fire commander deck, because the fire commander deck hasn't got any boosts, but the water commander deck has got boosts on it. Now if you compare the two ultimate form, this ultimate form is going to be more useful going forward because it increases water commander damage by 120% for 4 turns. Now that's more useful to me, the damage increase and the fact that it lasts is for 4 turns. It's got a 5 turn cooldown, which I would say isn't too much of a problem. I'll say it isn't too much of a problem. So combine that with the ultra rare, it will be dealing quite decent damage in a water commander deck. The dark isn't too bad either, because it does create 4 firepower gem 6s and it heals for 4000% of your recovery. It increases Dark Slayer attack by 80%. It gives you an attack increase, which is not as significant as say the damage. But if you've got the water, this would be another one that I would think to go for. It does give you quite a number of power gems each time you use a attack or damage buff. So this would be my second option. But my first option, and I think the best of all, would probably be the water. The earth does give you quite a number of attack boosts, because this one creates 6 Earth Power Gem 6s and increases Earth Command damage by 80% for 1 turn. Between 80 and 120, because think about it, the next Earth Commander event, you probably will be able to use 1 or 2 cards from this deck. 80% isn't too bad. In the next Water Commander event, you will only probably be able to use 1 or 2 cards from the current water deck. And Ultimate Form gives you 120, Ultra Rare gives you 120. That's 240% increase. This one, using this and one off another cards from it, it would only give you 160. So I would say the water is definitely the best. And as I said, they're the hardest deck to get. If you aren't lucky, you won't have much Water Slayer or Water Commander decks, because they're the first deck of the season. Alright, so that's my recommendation. If you've got the coins, like I've got the coins, you can consider, if you've got really good decks, forego crafting the current Fire Commander deck and go for the Water Commander deck that came out this season, because I've got really good cards within my collection. I mean, this deck was really good in its event. Really good. It was a deck that took me from, I think I was in Kings League, and I went up from Kings League to Emperor League, and I think, yeah, the commander before, I think it was a Dark Commander. No, not the Dark Commander. I'm mixing up everything. The Earth Commander took me from Kings League to Emperor League, and this deck took me from Emperor League into Legend League. I'm now back down to Emperor, but this deck was really good in its event. So I think it's going to be really good in this event as well. If you add Perceptive Guru to give you the killer skill, and you add Culinary Kens to upgrade, and then you use 2 Master Collection card and Octane guard, I think that deck would be really powerful. I think that would be a really good you know what, let's go ahead and put that deck on the board. Yep, Commander, yep, so we've got them on the board, so it's this one and this one. So that would be a really brilliant deck. So you've got Perceptive Guru to give you the killer skill, Octane guard to give you damage boost. You've got Grasp to give you boost as well, and you got Culinary Kings to upgrade. So in this case you would activate from left to right, but if like me you play from right to left, then that would be the best setup. So you activate Culinary Kings last to upgrade all your firepower gems that you've got on the board. And as I said, when it comes to relic, those would be my setup, and that's quite nice, quite nice, really brilliant. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this one. When it comes to the wave fight, I'm probably gonna go with Octane New Gods. I'm gonna go with all the cards that actually give me power gems over 3 turns. So cards that give me power gem, that give me, so I would go with something like Perceptive Guru to give me the killer skill. Perceptive Guru to give me killer skill. Octane New God, I would go with, that one gives me power gems over 3 turns. That one is Nitro Champs, absolute garbage. Anything that gives you power gems over 3 turns, I would go with it. I think this one as well, I think is a Master Collection card. So create 5 power gem, freeze, increase all damage dealt by commander by 65% for 3 turns. So that gives you firepower gems over 3 turns as well. And I think, where is she? This is ultra rare, and create 18 firepower gems over 3 turns, so definitely this one. Come on. And then you can just go for commander relics because there's no shields to break here. So commander relics. I like to use immortal relic, ultimate relics. So that would be my deck for the wave fights. Quite good. So that, I'm going to start with this for the wave fights, and then I'm going to use these for the solo bosses, ultimate bosses, and guild bosses, and see how we get on. If I find anything that's much better, or if I decide to craft the current fire deck, then I'll showcase that one. But for now, these are 2 decks that I'm going to use, and you see my cards that I've recommended that are very useful for the current event. So if the information has been helpful, you can leave a like on the video. If you got a question, you can leave it in the comment section below. Or even if you got a suggestion, you can leave it in the comment section below. I did have a subscriber that asked me to do a video on GVG. I'm working on that currently because I'm not the best GVG attacker, or even somebody to put up a GVG defensive team. As I said in past videos, I'm not one for GVG. I do play GVG, but I'm not totally a GVG person. So in games, you got people's, I'm messing up everything today as well. You've got people in a game that are good at different things. You've got people who are good at everything. You've got people who are good GVG attackers, people who are good at putting up the best GVG defensive team, people who come up with the best event decks, stuff like that. It's always like that in every game. I used to play a game called Clash of Clans, and in Clash of Clans you got people who they're good at farming. That's all they do. They just farm all day. You've got people who are good at clan wars. They can come up with the best clan war attacking team, but they can never put up a good defensive village. Then you got people who are very good at creating a defensive village. They're rubbish at attacking, rubbish at farming. So it's the same with this game. You got people who are very good at GVG, they're rubbish at events. You have people who are very good at events, like myself, rubbish at GVG. So it happens. But I will give you a few tips that I've got up my sleeve, because I'm not the worst, but I'm not the best. I'm in between. So that video is coming, look out for it. And I will do a video on relics as well, so look out for that as well. So until the next time, this is Octane saying thank you for watching my videos. Thanks to all my subscribers, all my viewers. Stay safe and peace.